YouTube, I am back again once again today reviewing The Average American Male by Chad Coltkin. This is the first book that Chad Coltkin ever wrote, and this is the second book by Chad Coltkin that I ever read. So after reading The Lie, I was pretty familiar with Chad's misogynistic tendencies. So when they cropped up again in The Average American Male, I was not as surprised as I was when I read The Lie. Because if you didn't know this, Chad Coltkin, in my opinion, tends, at least in his first two books, wrote very misogynistic male characters. And the male character in The Average American Male is no exception. I don't even know if this guy has a name. I can't remember. And I really can't be bothered. I've flipped through trying to find his name, and I can't find it. So, I don't think he has a name, but if he does, I couldn't tell you what it is. So the plot of this book is, I can't really tell you that either, because it's, not without going into spoilers. So, before I get to the spoiler discussion of this video, if you don't want to read about sex, copious amounts of sex, and or masturbation, don't pick this up. Other than that, if you don't... Oh, and like I said before, the misogynistic male characters, if you're not interested in that, don't pick this up. But aside from that, the storyline is just okay. It's not anything spectacular. It's sort of a contemporary piece of fiction. It works. It's serviceable. So, with that being said, I'm going to wait a few seconds, and then I'm going to go into spoilers. So, here are the few seconds. Okay, if you don't want to be spoilered, wow, words are just failing me. If you don't want to be spoiled, then leave, because I'm going to talk spoilers now. So, what happens in The Average American Male is pretty annoying to me. I think it's pretty annoying. It might be just because this is pretty much contemporary fiction, and that's what Chad writes. He writes it contemporary adult fiction, I guess you would say, instead of contemporary young adult. I don't even know if contemporary adult is like a genre, but that's what I'm describing this as, because there was like... Anyway, we have our main character whose name I don't think was ever given, so we have the average American man, and he's dating this girl named Casey, and they've been together for, I think it's a year now, maybe it might have been more than a year. They've been together for a while, and they're dating. The only reason the average American male is still with Casey is because, you know, she's his girlfriend, and so he doesn't have to work that hard to get sex, and so if he could just have sex with other people, he would be okay, but it's just easier with Casey because she's his girlfriend. So that's him. And then one day he proposes. I don't really remember the chapter that he proposes in, because it wasn't really memorable, because he didn't really mean to propose. Like, he went to her house thinking he was going to get laid, and then she was like, I'm tired, and he was like, okay, whatever. And they're just laying in bed, and then the next thing I know, she's happy that they're engaged, and I was like, okay. But that doesn't last very long, because he breaks up with her, and he starts dating this other girl. And so pretty much most of this is talking about... The first part of this book is him with Casey, and talking about how he doesn't really like Casey and him masturbating. And then the next part is the breakup, and then Casey claiming to be pregnant with his child. And then him pretty much like lying and going, I know you're not pregnant with my baby, Casey. And then because Casey is Casey, she has to be stupid, I guess. And she's like, you're right. I'm not pregnant. And I was like, this man had no proof, but okay. Like, he didn't offer any proof to you. He was just like, I know you're not. And then she was like, you're right, I'm not. And then he just left with his new girlfriend, who was younger than him. Because she was a senior at UCLA, and he's older than her. I'm not sure how much older than her. I think he might have been 26 or something. And then at the end of the novel, he proposes to his new girlfriend, even though the entire novel was spent discussing how he doesn't like marriage. And the majority of the novel, like 3/4 of the novel, was, well, no, I take that back. So 3/4 of the novel, he's with Casey, and then for 1/4 of that, it's him trying to figure a way to get out of marrying her. But at the end of the novel, he realizes that his new girlfriend, who I can't pronounce her name, I think it's like, one moment. Several moments, actually. Alina, I think that's how you pronounce her name, is just like Casey, and so he realizes he'll never find anyone that's not like Casey, and so he just proposes to her. And I think they're like in bed too. Or they might be watching TV or something. And then she says yes, and then they're engaged. And so I was like, what was the point of reading all of this? At the end of the day, it was an okay book. I didn't like how it ended. I felt that it just sort of was like, whatever, he kind of threw it all away at the end, which seems to be a thing that Chad does. His endings are always very unsatisfying, in my opinion, not only in The Average American Male, but also in The Lie. I felt that also had a very unsatisfactory ending. I don't think he can do endings very well. The middle bits was sort of interesting, even though, like I said, the Average American Male character was incredibly misogynistic, and the female characters were super, like, they were also walking stereotypes. Nothing was really three-dimensional in any capacity. Even his friend, Carlos, I think it was, who was his gay, but yeah, Carlos, who was his gay friend, was the epitome of, like, any stereotype that you could think of. So there was nothing amazing about this. I think on Goodreads, though, I did give this a 5-star rating. Not because I condone the misogynistic tendencies, or the stereotypic female characters, or the stereotype gay best friend character. Not because I condone any of that, but because at the end of the day, as bad as it might be to say this, I did enjoy reading this book. I was entertained reading this book, even though it was infuriating at the end. And so it did make me think about, you know, the misogyny in the book, and the stereotypes that were happening, and just the overall quality of everything. The quality of the story wasn't amazing, but it wasn't terrible either. I feel that for being a contemporary piece of work, and for making me think about the things that I had to think about while reading it, and the amount of times I wanted to throw it against the wall, it wasn't because it was terrible. It was because I just didn't agree with the sort of tone of everything. And I don't think you should rate a book down for that. So if you're willing to, like I said, put up with the copious amounts of sex, and the misogyny, and the stereotypes, it's not a terrible read, and I think that it is worth a chance. So, that's my thought on The Average well, I guess thoughts. I gave multiple of them, not just a singular thought. That's my thoughts. If you have read The Average American Male by Chad Coltkin, please leave your comments down below in the comment section, and I will respond to them. And if you haven't read it, but you want to read it now, you can leave those comments too, or any comment, really. I'm not really gonna hate on you for leaving a comment. So that's all I have to say for today, and until next time, guys, bye.